Bring it on, everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything. I'm through crying, I'm through waiting, I'm through hoping against all hope. I'm through longing for something gone that'll never be mine. I think I finally learned to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through grieving, I'm through dreaming that the life I had is ever coming back. No more wishing someone else's star will never be mine. I think it's time to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. And I've survived many times before, broken hearts and slamming doors. I'll be alright, yes I will once more, just as I did back then. I'm gonna rise again, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. So bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Reverend G, minister at the Unitarian Universalist Community Church on Shaver Road in Portage. That's where our physical building is located. However, I do welcome you to the Holy Church or the Church of the Holy Living Room. We are only online now for the time being. We will let you know when we will return into our building. Thank you, Nick, for blessing us with your music. And thank you all for joining us. I am delighted that you chose to spend this time with us on this gloomy, doomy, well, I'm set to say fall morning. And now I'm going to hand it over to Joe and Nancy Calmy to light the chalice for us.
On this day around the world, Unitarian Universalists light the chalice. We are truth seekers. We seek a truth that is so strong it can withstand our questioning and our doubts. The flame reminds us of what we have in common here, and so we bring it to life. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share.
Thank you, Joe and Nancy. Loved to see your faces, at least for me. It still creates a little bit of that sense of community where other people are involved as well that I can see. For many months now, I only see myself here on the screen when I talk to you. And I used to have so much feedback from you when we were there in person. So whenever I would deliver a talk, I would just look at you and I would see if we're connecting or not. And I no longer have that privilege, and I very much look forward to getting it back at some point. Now I invite you to just settle down into yourself and find a comfortable position in your seat. Please uncross your legs, uncross your arms. Close your eyes if it is yours to close them. And we're going to spend just a couple of minutes to center. Take a deep breath. And as you exhale, relax. Take another deep breath. And as you exhale, relax even more. And allow yourself to just be without expectations, without judgments, just a piece of beingness in this very moment, this moment, this moment. No past, no future, No shame, no guilt, no blame, no agony, no anxiety. Only presence in this very moment. Kind, gentle, free of expectations. No attachment to outcome. No judgment. Only presence. Kind, allowing, gentle, welcoming. Pure beingness in this moment. And we emerge from the silence with gratitude that it is possible for us to break away from the humdrum of life, the busyness of it. And we can just center into our beingness, kindly, gently, without much effort. And for that, together we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as you are ready, I invite you to open your eyes and return your attention to your screen and re-welcome. If you're only joining us now, I am Reverend G, minister at the Unitarian Universalist Community Church. Our physical building is located on Shaver Road in Portage, and currently we are meeting online. And I'm delighted that you chose to spend this time with us right now. Today, I am going to speak on curiosity. The funny thing about it is that whenever I pick a topic that I think will be so easy to develop, it just never is so. Those topics tend to be probably just the hardest ones because they are not very specific, you know. If I choose to speak about a certain cause, then some people are probably linked to it, so I can talk about that. There are tangents on that. But or if it's like last week, I chose a biblical story. That was easy to develop. It was fun to develop because, well, it's specific. But curiosity is not really specific. The reason I picked this topic, though, is because the overarching theme for our year is revolution. And I don't think that you can be part of a revolution without being absolutely curious. You just want to know what's there. You want to know how your peers are thinking. You want to know how those who you disagree with are thinking. Curiosity is incredibly important for development, for change. In fact, nothing in this world has happened without curiosity. Do you think we'd be flying today if somebody wasn't curious about, could human beings fly? And then they were contemplating flying. Do you think that We would be sailing the oceans and the waters if somebody wasn't contemplating, could human beings float? Could they come up with a device that would float, that would carry them? And then you have to contemplate floating and not walking. And it's curiosity. That's how we explored our universe, or our globe. There's much to still be explored. And then we are exploring the cosmos, and we're learning a lot. And it couldn't happen without curiosity. Even when two people meet, right? There's a lot of curiosity there. Who are you? What makes you smile? What brings you to life? What makes your soul alive? Curiosity. I want to know those things about you. In fact, if you have experienced me, you know that when we first meet, I probably ask you a million different questions, and they're weird and very varied, and I'm just curious. So anyway, I want to tell you a little story about a guy called Brian Grazer. And he is a Hollywood film producer. Him and Ron Howard together started the Imagine studio. And together they produced movies that have made money up to $13.4 billion. And so anyway, I want to tell you a story about Brian Grazer. He finished college, graduated college, and took a job in Hollywood at, I don't remember which studio, Universal, I don't know. And he was a legal clerk. And his job was to take envelopes and documents to famous people, powerful people in Hollywood, and to deliver them. And he quickly noticed that there was one thing that was constant. When he would deliver a document to any famous person, there would always be another person between him and that famous person. So he never got to meet the famous people. So one day he thought, I'm going to change that. I'm going to tell that I must hand it over in person. And so he knew which people he would go to, and he prepared. He would always have a few questions prepared for those people, and he always tried to turn this encounter into a conversation with these famous people. And you know what's really surprising? His strategy worked. More often than not, it worked. People would just say, oh, okay, well, I'll just let you through and give it to that particular famous person whom nobody otherwise could get a meeting with. So he really enjoyed this. And in fact, he made it into a practice that every day he wanted to meet a new person and strike up a conversation with them and ask about Hollywood, about the business, the how it all went down. And anyway, so he wanted to know the inner workings of it. And then he got bored. He said, this is fine. It lasted for a while, but I'm going to be a lot more strategic about who I want to meet. So now I want to meet really high-powered people that nobody can get in with, and I am going to pursue them. And every week I want to meet one of these. So, and this is what he said. He would call their office. He would ask for a meeting. He would say, okay, I am calling from this legal office of, say, Universal Studios. I really don't remember which studio he worked for. And I want you to know that I'm not calling on behalf of the studio. This is not about studio work. I do not want a job. I have a few questions to ask. These are the questions that I want to ask, and I do not want a job. I do not want a job. And this strategy, funnily enough, also worked. A lot of people gave him the opportunity to meet with them. And he learned much about it. He took notes and he learned much, much, much about it. So one day he decided he was going to meet with Lou Wasserman. And he was this giant of the film industry and he for 30 years reigned it and shaped it. And in fact, some say that he was the greatest um, mind of the film industry. Many, many people have wanted to be Lou Wasserman's since, but nobody could quite achieve that. So, of course, he couldn't get in with Lou Wasserman, but that didn't stop him. So for 7 months, he kept at it. He kept at it. He kept at it. And then one day, in the parking lot, he runs into Lou Wasserman's secretary. And he comes up to him and says, "Hey, hi, I am that guy who has been trying to get in with Lou Wasserman for 7 months. Can you please help me get just a few minutes with him? I'd be most grateful." I said, "Okay, whatever. You've tried so long. Fine, I'll make it happen." So on the agreed upon date, he goes to the studio, he's in the elevator, and he has the sense that, yeah, Lou Wasserman is not going to meet with him. There's no way. He just picked up on this energy. So sure enough, he goes there, and Lou Wasserman comes out of his office and hands him a number 2 pencil and the legal pad. And then he tells him, "Now put these two together, and the two together will be more worth it than the separate parts. And now get out of here." And Lou Wasserman goes back into his office. He's obviously done with Brian Grazer. And he's left with the legal pad and with the number 2 pencil. And he gets in the elevator and he is very perplexed. Like what is this? It's almost like a biblical pronouncement, but what does it mean? What is he supposed to do with this? What is this information about? So he's thinking about this, like, what could this mean? What did this man try to communicate with him? Put them together, and together they're worth more than the parts. And then he thought, you know what? I think it means that I need to start writing. And then, like, write screenplays, write, because then I'll be worth something. But until I just ask for these random interviews with people, I'm not really doing anything at all. So he started writing. He wrote a screenplay. That movie came out, Splash. He wrote some more screenplays. He wrote some TV shows. And he says, Brian Grazer says, that encounter completely changed his mind. I mean, his life. Completely changed his life. It put him on the trajectory where he is today. He is a very successful Hollywood producer, occasional screenplay writer. He's earned an Oscar for A Beautiful Mind. They produced A Beautiful Mind as well. So many movies, Apollo 13, many, many movies. Anyway, and well, of course, he is partners with Ron Howard. This is another thing that Brian Grazer says, and now I am the, what's the word? I don't know, but it's like when you go off track. He said he met Ron Howard, and they were both very young, and both of them were just trying to make it. You know, they were very unsuccessful at the time. They were very young, 25 years old. And he said he met with Ron, and he really liked him because Ron is this big piece of goodness. He has a moral center, and he's just a very good person. And on the other hand, Brian grew up with a father who, if he needed something, his father would say, "Well, go steal it. Go take it from whoever." So he didn't really have a moral guide that was instilled within him from home, but Ron did. So he decided, I must attach myself to this guy because I will learn how to be a decent human being, which to me, that is also phenomenal. This is somebody who's willing to see their weaknesses, to see the lack, and willing to do something about it. Unconventional ways? Maybe. Who knows? But it worked. And so they've been partners now for 25, 30 years and changed also. They left a huge mark on the movie industry. So that's the story with Brian Grazer. Another story is my nephew. He graduated law school. So he's now a lawyer, works for the government in Hungary. But before he graduated, he went to Switzerland. He was a exchange student. And there were students from all over the world at this law school in Switzerland, and they were talking, and a certain topic came up. And it's legal. It's legalese. I don't speak it. But he knew that that particular law did not exist in the Hungarian legal system. So he was very curious about it, and he started reading up on it. And he ended up writing a paper on it. It was so well written that since he's been invited to several different European countries to give presentation on this particular topic, this particular law, he also wrote his final paper, and it is the topic of her doctoral dissertation. Same thing. It just came out of a conversation with some students, international students, curiosity, paying attention, curiosity, talking about it. It's how the world changes. My niece, and why am I telling you this? Because I wrote a little post on Facebook, and I asked all of you to tell me, how do you fulfill your curiosity? What makes you curious? Who inspires you? My niece says that she was just born curious, and she is. I know her. She's born curious, and helps her keep an open mind, a non-judgmental way of beingness. So curiosity is terribly important in life. And we human beings, when we relate with one another, we appreciate curiosity, and we like it when somebody truly pays attention to us and shows an interest in us. We can then connect, especially if both are willing to make themselves open and vulnerable in the exchange. So curiosity, that way we can change each other, we can shape each other. But I think one of the most important elements of curiosity are to be curious about our own belief system. Albert Ellis, he was a psychiatrist, and he was trained in the Jungian method, in the Freudian method. And he practiced a lot with this Freudian method, but became disillusioned because he didn't see the results that he wanted to see. So he also liked to read the ancient philosophers, and he found Epictetus, who was a philosopher. It also happens that he was a slave in ancient Rome. And Epictetus said that men are disturbed not by events, but by their opinion of events. One more time. Men, human beings in other words, are disturbed not by events, but by their opinion of those events. And this really grabbed a hold of him, and he started thinking, and this inspired him starting a brand new movement in psychotherapy called the cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which even today is quite successful, has produced a lot of good results, positive results. People have changed. So Epictetus said, he understood that there are so many things in life that you cannot control. You cannot control the weather, acts of God, the weather, hurricanes, well, I'm thinking of Hungarian. Wow, my brain isn't working well this morning. Earthquake, that's it, earthquake. So acts of God, you cannot control. You cannot control the government very well, don't we know it? But you must control your own thoughts. In here, you must have control. And that's when he realized that it's really our beliefs and our thoughts about an activating event that will determine how we feel inside. So therefore, our thoughts and our belief systems matter. And it's important that we pay attention to those. Usually we just think that there's an activating event and then there's my reaction to it and there's nothing in between. There's no middleman. Well, the middleman is our thoughts and our belief systems. And we're not very well trained to pay attention to that. So what we really need to do is pay attention to that, because it will determine the quality of our lives. It will determine whether we have a lot of suffering in our lives, or we can just be peaceful, collected, and go about our business that way. In fact, I realized that Byron Katie actually is speaking of the same things today when she says, it's not what happens, but how you think about it that determines the quality of your life. It's the exact same thing, which shows that there are no new stories, only recycled ones. And wisdom is recycled as well. So, you can be sick, you can have afflictions, and you may be in pain, but it doesn't mean you are suffering. That's two different things. If the story you tell yourself, poor me, why me, again me, woe me, that colors the experience of your life. If you just say, okay, this happened, what now? How do we best cope with it? Then your energies are freed to find the solution, and you don't have to go through anxiety, panic attack, suffering. So, curiosity. I think that we cannot go, and we ought not go through life without curiosity. I have also found that our brain is wired such that curiosity and judgmentalism can't both inhabit your consciousness at the same time. So once you've made a judgment, you're no longer curious. You no longer ask, but why are they thinking that way? Why are they saying that? What's causing that? And while you're in the state of curiosity, you still haven't made a judgment. And here is another thing, that if you walk away with nothing today but this, I think it might be significant. If you have already made up your mind about something, become curious about that. Just take another look at that. Just look at it from this side, from that side, from here, from there. Maybe, just maybe you got it wrong. And what if you did? And then, are you the kind of person who is willing to change their mind in the presence of new information? Now, we know that we've created a political discourse that if a politician changes their mind, then they're being called flip-floppers. Now, I say, I trust flip-floppers. I do not trust the ones who are not willing to flip-flop, even in the presence of new information. I am a terrible flip-flopper. I flip-flop all the time. And my intention is to flip-flop even more. Because to me, that means I've learned more. I've expanded my consciousness. I've come to understand more. I've evolved. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, everything is right with that. Progress is made through learning, understanding, expanding consciousness. So, if you walk away with nothing today, then maybe this. Look at your opinions, firmly held opinions, and just take another look at them. Maybe the world will become a better place. Your world for sure. Thank you, and so it is. And now, Nick is going to take it over. And I also invite you to please support our spiritual community. Support it with your generous donations so we may keep going on, so we may keep bringing messages of hope, messages of life that supports all of beingness. So Nick, will you please take it away?
If this is my last song, this is my final day. If tomorrow I'll be gone, what do I want to say? If this is my last song, if it's my time to go, when my body's moved on, what will I have to show? Oh, but fortune and fame, they scatter to the wind. The things that make a name just don't matter in the end. Is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and skies a little more blue? Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before it was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. If these are my last words for all of the earth to hear, if all that I have ever been is about to disappear, if these are my last words, there's nothing that I need to say. I have only tried to serve. It's never been about talking anyway. So much hurt there is to heal. It's hard to understand. all I hope to feel is that I am doing what I can. Is the world a little more peaceful? Oceans and skies a little more blue? Is humankind a little bit wiser about the good that we can do? Does the sun shine a little bit brighter where before there was only rain? If so, then I'm glad I came. Have I given hope to the hopeless? Has a hungry soul been fed? Has a child stood a little bit taller because of something that I said? Have I left a little kindness? Have I eased a little pain? If so, then I'm glad I came. For that, I'm so glad I came. If this is my last song, what do I leave behind? What do I pass on if I am out of time?
Oh, Nick, thank you so much. This was another Daniel Neymar song. And wouldn't you want to know that in November, the Daniel Neymar will give an entire service. He will give the talk and he will sing for us in November. And on the 27th of September, this month, we're going to have Stogood. Karen Taylor Berkey and Stowe, I forget her last name. The two of them are going to offer us a service again, both talk and music. They are award-winning musicians, Grammy Award nominated, amazing, very, very inspiring people. Music is important in my life, and I often allow music to pick me up if I'm down. And both Daniel and Stogood are my usual go-tos when I need a little pick-me-up, a little inspiring, or even if I just feel good. Anyway, so please mark your calendar, September 27th, and Daniel will be November 15. So I really hope you will be able to join us then. I promise you will not regret it. And now I am going to hand it over again to Joe and Nancy to extinguish the chalice.
As we extinguish the chalice, let us remember to keep the flame awake and alive in our souls, and let the light of the chalice bind us together, showing us a way.
We
extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Stay curious and change the world with an open mind and with an open heart. And so it is. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. And those of you who are with us in Zoom, we will stay on and share joys and concerns. Thank you again. See you next week.